Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Did you ever notice or think about this? That whatever your field of endeavor, and you may have been very accomplished and you may have even won awards, there's always somebody that will come up to you that has never done anything and they'll criticize you. So at the end of the year, today being the last day, to all the wannabes and the never-weres, it's hard to make a comeback when you haven't been anywhere. Good morning, everybody. Last day of the year. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning. Kind of a pink tint to the sky out there this morning. Good morning on a Tuesday, last day of 2013. I got to be honest with you, I'm going to be glad to see it go. Don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out. I'm Zeb Bell with Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 great locations. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley. And our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly and the crew, 734-6969. Do you share in my enthusiasm to get rid of 2013?
Yes, 2013 was an up and down year, and I am so ready to see it go.
You know, I can't wait. As a matter of fact, I've got the trash can wide open.
With 2013 written all in it.
Hey, did you agree or disagree with my statement when I opened it up this morning?
I totally agree.
Did
you?
Totally
agree, yes.
I'm glad to hear that, because it always frustrates me that no matter what you've accomplished or what you do, you will always have somebody come up and criticize that has never done anything, been anywhere, or has no accomplishments whatsoever.
Yeah. And so as soon as you go out and do something, then come back and talk to me, and then we'll chit-chat.
Yeah, we'll sit down and have a nice little conversation.
There you go. We shall arbitrate, as it were.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that. Anyway, now that we're about ready to kick 2013 right in the keister out the back door, do we have a pledger?
We have Mr. Rotten on for the pledge.
That's good. I'm glad to hear from him. Good morning, Rotten. Give us the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There you go.
A happy New Year to everybody in Zebland.
Well, in Zebland, I like that. Well, to you and your very quiet, shy, retiring, and almost like living in a corner, quiet as a mouse, wife, tell her I said Happy New Year.
I'll do it.
All right, God bless you. Have a good day. Thank you. It's time for the weather. Let's see who's going to do it.
I am going to do the weather for today. It looks like mostly cloudy skies. Not as cold as what it has been. Highs are going to be in the mid-30s to mid-40s. Going to be a little bit breezy as well. Winds out of the southwest, right around 10 miles an hour. Tonight, decreasing clouds. Lows are going to be in the teens, and the wind is going to be picking up just a little bit for tonight, running through tomorrow. Currently sitting at 25 degrees. Today, looking at a high near 42. Tonight, low near 27. Tomorrow, for New Year's Day, looks like mostly sunny skies, high near 41, and then for Thursday, mostly sunny and 41.
Is there anything you can't do over there?
No, I can do everything.
I like that attitude. I do. I like that attitude. You know what? We've got a little change here today, as you know.
Yes.
And we're going to have to combine some things because I'm not going to be on the air Thursday. So that means we're going to have Merv May coming in and selling some cattle right now. How about it?
All right.
All right. He gets the steer calves there here to get $1.31, 31.
That's Merv May with the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley, and sale this Thursday. Yes. They will have a sale this Thursday, day after tomorrow. Don't miss it. For more information, call Merv May or Lance Udy at 678-9411. And here's just a brief rundown of what they're expecting on Thursday's sale. Jay Hutchison over by a little bit east of Rupert, 30 head of steers coming into the sale. Leonard Wells out at Oakley. Hello, Leonard. Trailer load of calves, good calves up in that Oakley country. Moo Mountain Dairy at Declos bringing in some butcher cows. South Ridge Dairy over at Golden Valley, butcher cows. And TLK Dairy out of Mountain Home, a load of cows. That's just some of what's expected to be at the sale this Thursday at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Sale time 10:30 at 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Number to call for more information, 678-9411. Merv, sell those steers.
All right. He gets the steer calves there here to get $1.31, 31, 32, 2.5, 3.5, 134, 4.5, 5.5, 130, 550, 135, selling $1.35. Zeb Mel gets bottom again.
Thank you. I tell you what, at $1.35, I'd take that bottom anytime compared to what I have sold cattle for. Hey, Daryl's Cleaners, I'm telling you folks, don't go anywhere else. You might hear about specials at certain places and everything. No. I know that Daryl's Cleaners is the best. I'm really choosy and picky, and Gina and my wife Deanne, they both know that I'm really picky about how my clothes are and everything. Well, that's why I go to Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. I want to make sure that my dress shirts and my Wranglers and everything looks just right. Being in the public eye, well, if you're not even in the public eye, their clothes, the way they treat your clothes, A1. Stop in, see the best. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Also, boy, Deanne, every day she says we're thankful about SafeLink Internet. Yes, SafeLink Internet services, absolutely the best. We don't know what we'd do without them. We don't know what we did without them before we had them. I'll tell you what, they're outstanding. And Idaho's #1 choice for wireless high-speed Internet, and you can get on their programs for as low as just, holy smokes, just $19.95? You better check it out. Fastest Internet speeds, period. You bet. SafeLink Internet. Call them today, 677-8000. 677-8000, ready to serve you. Well, we made it. Another year in the books, today being 12/31/2013. And as I said, I am not going to miss this year at all. No, I'm glad to see it go. It wasn't an easy year for me in various subjects and various matters, but I'm glad to see a fresh start coming up this next year in 2014. Next year, it might be, however, even a little tougher. Now, I'm going to break down some things that, and I'm not trying to sound negative to you, on this program, it's realistic. I only give you the facts, and I only give you a realistic opinion. I am very concerned, and my thoughts are what might become tougher for 2014. And we're going to go through the top 10 that I wrote down yesterday, and I'll give you a little bit of a balance on these. And I'd like your opinion as to whether or not you agree with me. Number 1 in our top 10 that I think for 2014, we will see as a country many, many more regulations. Now, I'm not exaggerating when I say that through research with the various and sundry different departments of government, there are waiting in the wings over 4,000 new regulations that the government wants to impose on private citizens, private property, and also to hurt us through the idiocy, and that's what it is. I'll go toe-to-toe with anybody, anytime on global warming. Anytime you want to bring forth what you call facts, I'll dispute those facts with facts that are better facts, okay? But there will be much more regulation, many more regulations imposed on us as a citizenry. Number two, there will be more, much more, and you can see it coming right now, environmental problems with the EPA and the court system. It's already building. They want to absolutely kill the coal industry. They want to kill the energy industry. They are going to do all they can from an environmental standpoint to take over and control you. If you have a little puddle of water on your yard, look out. They might come in with the Clean Waters Act and they might nail you for that. It's going to get tough. I guarantee it. Number three, and very unfortunately, this one bothers me more than any of the top 10. Really, it does. I honestly believe we're going to be seeing so much more racism in this country. I think we're going to see a lot of violence. I think we're going to see a return to what Selma, Alabama was way back in the 60s. And I'm going to lay the blame on two people primarily. Actually, three. But two will step up into the forefront and lead the charge to create more of a racism attitude in our country. Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. They make a living, a relatively big, good living, off of creating racism in this country, and that's big money to them and their groups. And unfortunately, I think we're going to see more racism rear its ugly head and be more prominent in 2014. Number four, and by the way, if you want to call and arbitrate on any of these, please give me a call. I'm going to stop after number 5 and do a commercial break, but your calls are welcome and appreciated. Number four, I think that this country is going to have huge, uncontrolled, uncensored, unreliable, and unforgiving problems with Obamacare. I have talked to so many people that are concerned across this United States. I've talked to people in New York. I've talked to people in Los Angeles. I've talked to people in the Midwest. I've talked to doctors. I've talked to healthcare people, officials. They are very, very concerned as to what's happening with a minuscule amount of people that are getting on Obamacare versus the amount of people that are losing their insurance, losing their coverage, losing their benefits, not knowing what to do. This is a disaster, and it's going to get worse. I think the group of people that will be absolutely pushed away from any caring or sharing with Obamacare will be the senior citizens. On this program, I will do all I can. I will do all I can. If the good Lord allows me to stay on this program for another year, I will do all I can to fight any and all of these subjects, but also to heighten the awareness or do what I can to help our senior citizens, because I think they're going to need all the help they can get. Number 5, look out for a tinderbox. Look out for gasoline laying all over the Middle East, just waiting for some idiot to strike a match. I honestly believe that Iran, Syria, the absolute mindless twits of the Muslim Brotherhood and other organizations are going to do all they can to create a bigger and more volatile situation in the Middle East. I'll stop there, and I'm going to pay some bills, and I'd like your phone calls, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. If you're driving by right now, stop in. Your friends are there. They're having a cup of coffee and maybe a Danish, and they're talking about all the things that are going on around the country last day of the year. And don't forget they got hot soup for lunch, too. Ooh, good soup made fresh every day. And for everybody that's looking to buy ahead for next year, you can save a lot of money, 50% off on all the toys over at Valley Wide. And they've got buy one, get one free on select clothing. Wow! You better check that out. Valley Wide Home and Ranch. And the calendars are in right now. You bet. Valley Wide Home and Ranch with Steve and Mandy and everybody else serving you at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. Really, really nice people. Also, don't forget our dear friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They throw the doors open at 7:30 and say, hello, world, we're here to serve you. They are, too. They've got all your heat lamps and extension cords and all your furnace filters and everything you need electrical right there. And if you want to call ahead at 678-0459, do so. They'll have your order waiting on the counter. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. All right, now it's up to you if you want to give us a call. Number 6. And this one really grates on me because we as the American public are, in my opinion, if you take offense at this, toughen up because it's the truth. Benghazi will be swept under the rug for the benefit of Hillary Clinton to become the president in 2016. And we as a nation should be so ashamed of ourselves for not demanding, and I mean demanding. I mean standing in front of the Capitol and standing in front of our senators and congressmen, grabbing by the tie and saying, now look, get this done. We should be demanding to know why Benghazi happened. We should be demanding for the sake of the families that lost loved ones. Why? Why were they killed? We should be demanding to know more about the under-the-table politics that's going on in this country, the land of the free, the home of the brave, where we, the people, should know what our government is doing. Benghazi will be swept under the rug. And here's something that I hope does not come true, but I'm scared about it. 2014 midterm election year. I think that the way things are right now, the House will be retained by the Republicans, but there's a caveat. They, the Republicans, because of their juvenile infighting and, quite frankly, stupidity. Call it what it is. If the Democrats are dumb, I'm going to say they're dumb. If the Republicans are absolutely brainless twits, I'm going to say they are. And they are with their infighting. The Republicans will not, because of their juvenile attitude, gain the votes necessary to take over the Senate. I think things will be at a status quo. Number 8, more rules. And think about this one. And this might be an arbitrary thing for a lot of you to call in and say, no, I disagree. I think there are going to be more rules that will soften. I'm going to use that word soften this morning. Sports in general, and they will become law, and we're going to see much more of a wussification of our society. I don't care if it's football. I don't care if it's basketball. I don't care if it's baseball. I don't care what sport. There is a movement in this country, honestly. I see it coming. I've been involved in sports all my life. I honestly feel this, that there is a wussification, a kind of a, here, little kitty, kitty, kitty type attitude going on in sports. And I think that's bad. We're losing a value system. Number 9, the gays, lesbians, and transgenders will become very volatile in this country because right now they're sitting on their hind pockets, got knocked on their hind pockets over what happened with the Duck Dynasty debacle, if you will. They thought they were going to rule the world. They thought they were going to rule A&E. They thought they were going to get all the press in their favor, and they didn't. Christian people are standing up and saying, no, enough is enough. And I'm afraid the gays, lesbians, and transgenders will do anything to gain more control, and I underline the word anything for this next year, 2014. Be very wary. Be very scared of these people and their power and their money. And number 10... and this is the one that I think we all should have a kind of a set of binoculars to look off into the distance because I see it coming. Something very sinister will come out regarding Obama and his presidency. There are a lot of things. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of happenstances. There are a lot of things in his past history that have been smoothed over, covered over, laid a carpet on, that all of a sudden I think we're going to know really what we have as a very sinister, devious president in the name of Barack Hussein Obama. I think we're going to hear a lot more, learn a lot more, and be subjected to a lot more of his very sinister powers in this next year, 2014. There's my top 10. Give me a call if you agree or disagree. I'd like to hear. Go ahead and add any to that if you would. And give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's ask Gina while we wait for some calls. Gina, what did you think? Is my top 10 worthy of a yay or a nay in your opinion?
I think it is worthy. I am very, very concerned about our elderly and they're being washed away with Obamacare. Heck, I'm concerned for myself. I'm kind of debating on whether I want to go through with the final process of the verification because I still haven't been verified for Obamacare. I think that is going to be something that we really do need to watch for in this next coming year. I do believe what you said about the Republicans and the Democrats. I think that they're losing sight of what their job really is, and that is to serve the American public. They're serving special interests, and they're not serving us at all.
Let me jump in on that one because
sure.
I don't care who the Republican is. I don't care if it's a local Republican. I don't care if it's a state honored position by a Republican. I don't care if it's a national Republican. You people had better start sitting down and looking to the Tea Party and looking amongst yourselves to settle this infighting, or you are going to be absolutely worthless in 2014. It's time to mend the fences, and now it's almost past time.
Yes, I agree. And this is what I will say, is I don't care whether you're Republican, Independent, or Democrat. Would you please follow the Constitution?
Oh,
please.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Constitution.
That is, we've got so far away, and we're going to be talking with Doug Johnson a little bit later at 9:30 this morning, and you, of all people, are going to be shocked as to what happened in the state of Ohio. You're not going to believe what happened with a new Ohio law. I'll give you a little teaser here.
Okay.
That prohibits secret compartments in your vehicle.
They build them in anyway.
But I have a story that you will be fighting mad, and I am already. So, do we have Mr. Jim McCall on the phone?
No, actually, I'm going to dial him right now. And there's one other topic that you did not touch on, and that I think that we do need to be watching for, and that is the Fukushima Daiichi incident that is still ongoing over in Japan, because it will affect us indirectly.
It is, and it was in the top 15, but I narrowed it to top 10 as far as what's going on in the world that I'm really concerned about. I only had so many that I could take for the top 10, and there's a couple of other ones that I'm very concerned about, too. The food police was another thing that I was going to talk about. I was going to talk more of our rights of free speech and our rights of free activity. Those are things also that I kind of lump together as far as more regulations are concerned.
I agree with that. And, wow, if we want to keep our right of free speech, then we really, really do need to keep at it and keep on it. I'm going to talk to Jim here for a second.
All right, buddy. Thank you. You call my buddy Jim. Thanks, Gina. Oh, sometimes. These are the top 10 that I picked, and I'm going to stand behind those. I think 2014 is going to be a very critical year. 2014 is a year that we all need to absolutely make a vow and a promise to ourselves that we're going to get involved, we're going to speak out, and we're going to be responsible citizens. And I mean that. It's going to take all of us to stand up and either say no to these people or yes, we agree and we want that pushed through. But it's not going to happen if we, the people, are not responsible citizens.
Amen.
My good friend, Jim McCall with Travel Loop Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Heyburn. I know what his thoughts are. Jim, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
Well, I'm just kind of going through a top 10 as to what I think is going to happen next year in 2014. But I can tell everybody there's actually 11 instead of 10, and number 11 is Travel Loop Supply will be there to serve everybody just like they were this year, right?
Well, that's what we're hoping. I just want to thank everybody today for the past year. We've been truly blessed, and appreciate all my friends and family and those good friends, the customers for it with us, and you helping us are just thankful, Zeb.
Well, and now is also a time, you told me this on the telephone last night, and real quick, tell everybody about the preseason orders on filters for their vehicles. What do they have to do?
Zeb, now's a good time to get ready for
getting all that equipment serviced for the coming year. Here's a list of the equipment vehicles that you have. We can let us give you a quote on filters and any of the needs you might have coming up for this year. If you've got a big shop project, don't forget we've got bolts and welding rod, and if you need special bolts, we can get them for you. We've got well over 1,000 different types of fasteners in stock, and we can order what we don't have.
All right. This man is my friend. This man serves everybody at Travel Loop Supply, 1050 West, 203 south of Heyburn. And I want to say to Jim McCall, and I mean this to my dear friend, Happy New Year. Thanks, Jim, for all you do.
Thank you, Zeb, and likewise.
All right. God bless you, man. Thank you. Jim McCall, Travel Loop Supply, 438-8730. Caller, I'll take your call in just a moment. Please do not go away because I've got to quickly get our Pacific Steel and Recycling Ag Minute in. Pacific Steel and Recycling, 2 locations in Burley and also 1987 Highland Avenue East in Twin Falls. Be right back. Here's the Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Agricultural economists in general expect overall farm income in the United States to be down in 2014, but they also point out that's compared with 2013, which is projected by the USDA to be another record year for farm income. Farm income should still be good this year for several crops grown in the Pacific Northwest, particularly wheat, pulse crops, apples, and pears. The expected decrease in total farm income is a result of crop supplies, particularly corn, being more in line with demand, according to Mike Duffy, an Iowa State University agricultural economist. That's expected to benefit livestock producers. The animal industries and other end users of grain and oilseeds are now expected to enter several years of higher incomes. This is Hannah Browse.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Oh, and by the way, today, I was not aware of this, but they extended the canned food drive all the way till the end of this month at Pacific Steel and Recycling. So if you have any canned goods you want to stop in there, they're trying to help and feed a lot of people. At Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley, and also 1987 Highland Avenue East in Twin Falls. For all your recycling needs, it is Pacific Steel and Recycling, 678-2321. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, Zeb. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
If you mentioned this one, I missed it on your top 10 or 15 gun control. Hey, this is going to be a big thing this year. In the background, the United Nations is putting together something that's going to try to reach out and get our small arms.
Paul,
George Soros is in the process of buying out the manufacturers of guns in this country. He's trying to shut us down by shutting off any supply. So
I agree.
This is going to be a big thing, in my opinion.
No, you're right, Paul. Now, wait a minute, though. I did, in a way, put it in the top 10 when I said, number 1, more regulations. I said that more government control on private citizens and property and global warming. And with that statement of more regulations, I absolutely agree with you that gun control will be a big issue. I think the government's going to do all it can to come out with a law, if you will, that will even possibly implement a house-to-house take and seizure if they can get it passed, thanks to what's going on with the United Nations. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, but it's going to be implemented, I think, to where it's going to be laying in the weeds. I agree with you. It's something that I think will fall underneath more regulations.
The only chance we've got is the NRA, and I do everything I can to help them. By the way, Happy New Year, and before I was past your house yesterday, I got past before it occurred to me. Be encouraged on your surgery coming up. I hope it goes well, and we'll be thinking of you, Zeb.
That means an awful lot to me. I'm a little bit nervous about it. I'm not going to lie to anybody. It's a big surgery, but hopefully the good Lord will let everything go through. And save more prayers for my wife, because she's going to have to take care of this big old fat cowboy, and I really appreciate everything, Paul. Thank you.
We'll hold you up in prayer.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Have a good one.
God bless. Happy New Year. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I would like to wish you and your bride a happy New Year's. And everybody in your radio land, have a good year. Let's hope it's as prosperous as this last year.
Well, to you and your lovely bride, right back at you. Happy New Year, and may all of your activities that you do around the area to help so many people and serve so many people in different groups. George Mass, Donna Mass, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Well, Zeb, it's been a good year, and I'm looking forward to next year, and we're praying everything turns out good for you. You got a lot of people in your corner, my friend, so it's going to be left up to you to get with it.
All right, I promise I won't drop the ball, George. Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
God bless you. Thank you very much. There's a couple that do so much behind the scenes for so many people.
They do.
Oh, I get a little teary-eyed when I talk about George and Donna because they're always doing something for somebody else.
Yeah, they really
always
are. You know, and honestly, he endeared himself into my heart when he came as Santa. Seriously, and so just the gift that he gave to my son, just in that memory, is totally worth it.
And he absolutely loves that job. He loves putting on the old Santa Claus outfit, and he is good at it.
Johnny, you need to fatten him up just a little bit so he can, like, jolly ho 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 a little bit.
I tell you what, they're quite the people. They really are.
They're great.
Calls are welcome. 436-2244 1-866-927-4587. Give me your worries and or positives for 2014. And I'd like to hear what you have to say. By the way, yesterday, here we go, the Democrats are working overtime. In Seattle, they have passed a $15 an hour minimum wage. Now, they interviewed some people up there in Seattle yesterday, and I caught some of this on tape, and I sat and took some notes on it. And the Democrats are really pushing for this $15 an hour minimum wage to go across the United States. And mark my words, and if I'm wrong, I've got big shoulders, I can take it. And you can get on this radio program, and you can just tee-hee and make fun of me all you want to. Mark my words that by raising the minimum wage, and I'm not trying to lessen these jobs when I say burger flipping jobs, but that's basically what I'm talking about, to $15 an hour, you are going to see jobs lost. You're going to see businesses close up. You're going to see inflation start to go rampant. And here's the thing I'm worried about. Opportunities for teenagers to get work will be minimized, if any. I, as an employer, would not even think about hiring a 16, 17-year-old kid that's never been in the job force before for $15 an hour. Nope, wouldn't think about it. With the training and I got to get off today because my girlfriend's taking her driver's test. I mean, all these different excuses. No way would I want to have that in the labor force at $15 an hour. And I think this is going to really hurt America, the inflation, and the economy of this country going into 2014. Your thoughts? 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, I got to tell you what happened in Basetown, North Carolina. Now, they weren't doing a thing wrong. They were not doing a thing wrong for years and years over in Basetown, North Carolina. They just celebrated New Year's with a possum drop. What? A possum drop? Well, now, just before you get all upset like the liberal loons with PETA, People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA heard about the possum drop over in Basetown, North Carolina, and they got scared. They went ballistic. They said, how dare they do that to a possum, a poor animal. Wait a minute. What they did and what they do is comparable to the moon or the great big silver ball drop in New York's Times Square. The possum is in a box. And it's not like he's going to hit the earth at 900 miles an hour. He doesn't even hit the ground. The box just lowers, and it's kind of a country attitude, kind of in jest against the great big silver ball drop in New York City. It's called the old possum drop for the new year. Nobody's getting hurt. And PETA filed a suit and an action saying this was cruel and inhumane. Oh, these people with PETA. I mean, please lay down, take a couple of aspirin, sleep it off, and go away. You know, please, just go away. Oh, and by the way, now the liberal loons, A&E, the network with Duck Dynasty, you got to admit it, these people are not the brightest in the network television business. I would not be surprised if there were wholesale jobs available in the front office at A&E because of the idiocy and the incompetency as to how they handled the Duck Dynasty crisis. Now, the liberal loons are mad, absolutely teed off at the A&E, and they're saying that the show is all about white supremacy. What?
It's what? Back up the bus.
I know. I heard that this morning, and I honestly started laughing at the absolute liberal left stupidity in this country.
They're grabbing at straws.
They're grabbing at straws. It's a good way to put it. They are grabbing at straws, doing anything they can to denigrate and destroy a television show, a reality television show with a family that has some values, some core values.
So they are racist and in with the Aryan nations.
It's white supremacy.
White and they believe in the Bible.
Oh, absolutely. Can't you see that? What's the matter with you?
Oh, my goodness. Well, maybe they should go to a tanning salon and get themselves a tan.
You let that go by, you, a journalist? You didn't see that from the get-go, that Phil and Willie and the rest of them were white supremacists? I can't imagine that you've been in the news business all these years that you couldn't see that.
Well, apparently I have just been hiding underneath my bed all of this time because I just didn't see it.
Yeah, but Gina, I've watched the show, and I'm trying to get either Willie or Jace or one of the guys on the program here in the not-too-distant future. I'm working on it right now as we speak, as a matter of fact.
That would be awesome if you did.
But I have never, in watching that show, ever saw anything that had to do with racism.
No.
Anything that had to do with white supremacy. Anything at all except family values. And now the liberal loons, like you said, are grabbing at straws, and they're coming out and saying, we got to get rid of this program. It's white supremacy. Holy smokes, they're against blacks. They're against gays. They're homophobic. I mean, they're drawing conclusions on something that doesn't exist.
Exactly. And they need to stop drawing conclusions and actually look at the facts presented.
But I do have something that absolutely does reek of liberal loon racism.
Okay.
Did you hear what happened to Mitt Romney? Oh, boy. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but in the Romney family, they had adopted a black grandson, a little baby. I think he's about 1.5 years right now. And there was a picture of the entire Romney family, all the kids standing around Mitt, all the little ones from like this little baby all the way up to like a girl that's probably 16, 17 years of age. And there's got to be 20 of them standing around Mitt Romney. Okay, a nice family picture of all the kids that he loves and adores. Do you know that MSNBC came out and denigrated him for having basically a one Negro or black child in the family so that it would be considered what the Republican Party calls as anti-racist? How dare they go after a family that saved this little boy?
That's low.
Melissa Harris Perry of MSNBC. She was the host of the program that came out and made absolutely mocking remarks against presidential hopeful Mitt Romney's black grandchild that they adopted. And Mark Lamont Hill, I've never liked this man. I think he's absolutely a black racist, came out and thought it was funny.
How do you think something like that is? So I take offense to that, and here's why, and I'll just make it short and sweet because we do have a caller for you. My boyfriend, he has some brothers and sisters. And his brother and his wife, who live on the East Coast, they adopted a little boy from Africa, pulling him out of a bad situation, bringing him into the good. And so they're doing their part. They're helping. They wanted children. They didn't think that they would be able to have any children, so they adopted him, and they adopted a child who truly needed a home.
Absolutely.
Is there anything racist about that? No. It is something that is in the heart.
Remember Michael Orr? Do you know who he is?
The name sounds familiar.
Okay, Baltimore Ravens?
Yes, okay.
Okay. A young man that had no family life, had nothing, and a white family took him in, adopted him, and gave him the incentive. They made a movie about how great a man this young boy turned into.
Sandra Bullock was his mom.
And Sandra Bullock played the part of the mother, emphasizing the fact that color barriers were absolutely colored over or glossed over, and it was love of fellow man. And I'm so sick and tired of the liberal left throwing the race card at people like me and others, and then they attack Mitt Romney for having his family adopt a little boy that absolutely was in need of a mom and dad. How low can the left go?
It just shows to me, again, that they're grasping at straws, and really look at who's making the statements, who is really racist.
Bingo. I'll take that. I'll tell you what, I hope that caller's got patience, because I'm going to ask if we can do a weather, pardon me?
It's Adrian Art.
Adrian, have patience. I've got to do a weather forecast. I looked at my watch and I said, ooh. Our weather this hour brought to you by Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road, and they're having their after Christmas sale right now all the way through January 4th, and you can save money. You got 46-inch TVs from just $419. What? And I'll tell you, they can tell us more prices on Samsung, Sony, LG, and Toshiba, but they're selling them for under what really minimum advertised pricing allows. You better get in there and check them out at Quality's Electronics today, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Here is our weather.
Looks like mostly cloudy skies today. Not going to be as cold as what it has been. Looking at a high near 42 for today. Tonight, decreasing clouds, low right around 27, currently sitting at 28 degrees.
There you go. Brought to you this hour by Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road, Twin Falls. Adrian, sorry to keep you waiting. Go ahead, please.
Oh, that's fine. Mentioning the weather, I talked to a friend in Southern California yesterday. It's about 80 degrees, but he said, man, we've got the driest year. I said about 3 inches of rain total. And if you saw TV at all, the news, Folsom Lake there, and I think it's in Central California. I think it's empty. You know, it looks like our reservoir system. So we better be praying for some snow. And, you know, I think Palmerell's only got like 20 inches of snow at the top at Palmerell. This time of year, it's unbelievable. I don't remember it ever being that bad. But, you know, what PETA actually stands for is people eating tasty animals.
Well, it should.
Anyway, I think I'm on everybody's mailing list. I got one of those business reply mail things from those people, and that's what I put inside the thing and sent it. Of course, I clipped anything that had any identification to go with it, but I haven't gotten anything from them, so I'm sure they found out who I was. But anyway, you know, our country's under attack in, you know, at all aspects. You know, the morality, you know, the trade agreements, the amnesty thing that Frosty's talking about, you know, and really pushing it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. We're being attacked on all fronts. The Common Core thing. People, we better be really not just praying in our churches. We better be out there being active this next year. And Zeb, I want to wish you the best with your surgery, and I hope you have a speedy recovery, and you got a great wife there to help you through that, and we'll be all praying for you.
No, I appreciate that. Yes, I'd rather have your prayers directed at Deanne, because she is absolutely the best. Thank you so much, Adrian, and to you, a very happy new year, and we'll look forward to having you on the program next year. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. You have a great day.
God bless.
Good work, and hope you recover quickly, and have a great new year.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, I read this story from MSNBC, and and even CNN and Fox News and others are just absolutely coming out against MSNBC and their blatant racist remarks against Romney and his family. CNN's Don Lemon Monday night really came out and said they used a child to mock Mitt Romney. And others at CNN came out and said this is ridiculous and absolutely low class. On Fox News, Fox and Friends, everyone on Fox and Friends denounced MSNBC host Melissa Perry for her racial attack on an infant and Mitt Romney. How low will the media go? You know, just about the time you think that you've heard anything and everything in the news media, just about the time you thought, well, they can't go much lower in their remarks about other people like Martin Bashir of MSNBC with his filthy. They were filthy. You wouldn't even say those remarks if you were in closed company. Honestly, they were pathetic remarks, and he said them over the air about Sarah Palin. I mean, how low will the media go? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Bell?
Yes, sir.
Happy New Year to you and success on your surgery.
Oh, Al, thank you very much. And
I'd give you a pint of my ornery blood, but you're already too ornery.
Well, I'll tell you something, Al. I appreciate all your kind remarks, and I certainly hope that if given the opportunity, you and Polly will come up and see us.
I might just do that, but you've been talking about this racial stuff and that going on. You know, it's funny, they criticize Romney for taking one child, but yet they don't say a word about the likes of Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
Hitting, what, 3 now?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's going to be spouted off by the Democrats, then don't criticize Republicans because we try and do some good that you're not doing.
Al, why, though, and you watch the news, and you're very familiar with what's going on in the news, but it was nothing more than racism. If every one of those children in that 20 children picture with Romney, 20 grandchildren, if everyone were white, nothing would have been said, would it?
No.
Okay, so this one little black child, an infant sitting on Romney's knee, drew the humor, quote unquote, and the remarks of racism from MSNBC host Melissa Harris Perry and others like Mark Lamont Hill, who I absolutely have never liked. Why? Why would you make fun out of something that is a family situation?
Because that's the way they're trying to keep this world turmoil going. Is just keep that stuff stirred up. It's not coming from the white folks and all that stuff. You know where it's coming from. You see it every day on TV.
Well, there's no doubt about it.
I mean, that guy, somebody should smack him right in the mouth.
Well, in this case, and I've never advocated that we resort to violence, but in this case, I wouldn't be at all upset if another woman knocked Melissa Harris Perry on her keister and grabbed Mr. Mark Lamont Hill and said, "You'd better wake up and smell the coffee." This kind of language, this kind of incendiary, racist language has got to stop because, you know something? 20 years from now, when that little baby grows up to be a young man and hears all the racist comments that were directed against him because he was in Mr. Romney's family, that's got to hurt, Al.
Yeah, I know it. And another thing, Zeb, you mentioned Benghazi. I'm going to say this, and I might be wrong, but I doubt it. You're going to see the veterans, the people, the United States, you're going to see them raise up in arms because what's going on, because they are using them against the military and all that stuff. You watch the veterans and all that stuff rise up and put a stop to this nonsense because we're getting sick and tired of being kicked around, killed off, and everything else just to satisfy some dumb politician.
I agree. Al, to you and Polly, Happy New Year. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Caller, I'll be right with you. Don't go away, please. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. 7 locations. There's no excuse that you can't get the service you need. I mean, all of them are great. Best tire value promise in the industry. They got all the winter traction tires. They got all the tires that are pins for studs. They got all the different tread designs. They've got the best in batteries. They've got the best in tire chains and snow wheels. The best in brake value service and front end alignments and shocks and struts. What are you waiting for? I mean, get out the door, turn the key in the four-wheeled Wonder, and head for Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, I just have a couple of thoughts on this whole thing about MSNBC and Mitt Romney's grandchild. For starters, my husband and I have 2 children who are adopted who are not white. Are they making fun of my family too?
You know, that's an excellent point, my dear, because by doing what they did, they're casting a shadow of humor, which I think is sick and pathetic, on any of the cross relations with families. And I find this to be sick.
I don't see color in my family. Sometimes people will say to me, they'll ask questions about my kids, and to be honest, most of our kids are adopted. Just some of them are obviously not born into our family, and some of them are, and they blend right in, and so you don't know the difference, and I don't see the difference anymore. So that's my thought. But then I thought that, well, any woman who would wear tampons for earrings, her opinion doesn't count for squat anyway. And I would be insulted, except I don't think that they have a functioning brain cell amongst the whole bunch of them. So how are you insulted by an amoeba, which is about where I put them? And then my other thought was, what about people with disabled children? You could sing that song about them too. Well, one thing doesn't look like the other.
Yeah.
Are they mocking everybody whose family makeup isn't perfection all the way down the line?
Why did it have to be said in the first place? I mean, I just don't understand why somebody in the media didn't grab Melissa Harris Perry by the back of the neck and say, you are fired, you're out of here, shut up. And Mark Lamont Hill, same for you. You will never be on the network again. I find this to be so repulsive.
Oh, they didn't make fun of the child himself. They're just making fun of the family.
Baloney.
Well, when you make fun of the family, you're making fun of the child. He's part of the family.
Absolutely. And to you and your family, God's blessings. Thank you for what you do. And remind me in 2014 never to get arbitrative with you, because I think you'll win every time. Thank you so much.
You have a happy new year and good luck with your surgery.
God bless you. Thank you so much. We're going to take a little break right now for about 6 minutes and come back. In next hour, what do we got next hour? Oh, Speaker of the House Scott Bedke is going to be on the program talking about the legislative session coming up. Don't go away. I guess I better get on here and say something. I wasn't doing that either to be mean to Gina, but I just absolutely was off in my own little corner of the world, just sitting there and digesting everything. Welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley. And let's not forget our dear friends at Western Way Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
You know, they really do care about getting rid of your garbage. They really do care in providing products and services to meet all residential and commercial needs. Trash collection, recycling programs, they've got the porta potties for special events, weddings, parties, everything. I mean, really, please give them a call at 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. And check out the dumpsters in various sizes. If you're cleaning out your basement, or in my case, maybe after the first of the year, I might get really energetic after the surgery. Well, maybe not, and clean up this office. But anyhow, you check out all the dumpsters, everything you need at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Let's not forget, too, our dear friends over at Hanson Mortuary, Joel Heward and the staff. He is the owner-manager of Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, and they always provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. It's a difficult time when there's a passing of a loved one, and they absolutely want to serve you the way you want to be served. So please call them today, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, serving you and your family. Well, I got a dear friend that is not only a representative for our great state of Idaho, but also the Speaker of the House, and he's getting ready to bring the gavel down with a loud flair to start the legislative session for 2014, and that's Scott Bedke. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
He's not called.
It didn't sound like him.
Well, good morning, Mr. Zeb Bell, and how are you doing this morning?
Well, I'm fine. I'll bring the gavel down right here myself.
I've been waiting for him to call, too.
Oh, maybe we could jog his memory. Okay? I will give you his cell phone.
Okay.
And it is 431-3618.
431-3618. 3618.
And I'll bet you that phone ringing may be him.
Actually, no, that's Steve Mitten forwarding his phone. He's going to come in and do a show here today.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's not him. But if you try to get him, I'll do a quick commercial. How's that?
You got it.
All right. Thank you much. Don't forget, when you think about insurance, and all of us should think about insurance, and make sure that we're protected. Make sure that our families are protected. Make sure that we've got things ready for retirement. Make sure that if we've got a business, we've got employee benefits. Make sure you call Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Dean and Todd, dedicated and responsive to your needs. 436-4424, the number to call, 436-4424. They are located on Highway 24 in Rupert. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, please contact them today. Really nice people. Let's check back.
Got him.
You've got the Speaker of the House on the telephone.
Yes.
Oh, Gina, thank you so much. Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Scott Bedke, how are you?
Well, I'm doing well, Zeb. I apologize for being a couple of minutes late, but anyway, that's just how it goes sometimes.
No, I understand. Between the mixture of your real life of having to run a ranch and then also getting ready for the legislative session, Scott, in a nutshell, and we haven't got a lot of time this morning, but I want to get right to it. When you bring the gavel down on the start of this legislative session for 2014, what, in your opinion, really are going to be the most time-consuming matters that have to be discussed and finalized?
Well, I think that the number one issue this session will be public schools and education. I feel that there seems, of all the legislators I've talked to and been out and about in the community, I think that there's concern that we replenish. We all made the commitment that education, public schools during the Great Recession would be the last budget cut, and it would be the first one restored. Now, at the peak, Idaho collected about $3 billion in 2008 in general fund monies. And this year, 5 years later, we're about up to $2.85 billion. So we're not back to where we were in 2008 as a state. And while that's a little discouraging from one perspective, it is encouraging that our economy is growing and that there will be new money in this year's budget. And it's my prediction, it's my assessment that a big chunk of that new money will be plowed back into public schools to restore. There's many, to restore some of the funding. There's many school districts that still have, furlough days that they're not, that they just are teaching fewer days than they did here 5 years ago because of budgetary concerns. I think that's an issue that we need to restore furlough days. We need to restore the movement on the grid, if you will, so that when teachers get another degree or whatnot, that that is addressed. But I'd also like to do some revamping on the way the state handles health insurance for school districts, and it's a little bit complicated. But in most all of the budgets in the state, the other agencies, there's a separate line item for health insurance, and that goes up every year. And we all grumble, but we pay the bill, or we rebid the contracts, or we do something as a state so that we can keep the health insurance costs down. In school districts, we send money to the school districts in one big bucket, and out of that bucket they pay their health insurance costs. And but I don't think that the big bucket approach recognizes the realities that these school districts are going through financially when it comes to the increased costs in health insurance. And that was even before Obamacare. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things that I would like to work on this year. But I think that education and the issues surrounding that are going to be the drivers this year. I think that there'll be some talk about taking some of this new money and investing that in our infrastructure so that we can recharge the aquifer. We're looking at a tough water situation this year where our reservoirs are depleted, and and here it is, the 31st of December, and our snowpacks are way below normal. So I think that, and we've always been working on that as best we could, but we're going to have a little extra money. And nothing angers me more than in the spring of the year to having a lot of water running over Milner Dam and going on to our neighbors to the west and then on to the ocean and we should be putting that in the ground and restoring the aquifers, reserving that water for our use up in Idaho.
Absolutely.
Not letting it go by. So that's one thing I'd like. Those two things. If we don't accomplish anything else this session, then to get the wheels back on the wagon with regards to education and to take a giant step towards in infrastructure for recharge, then we will have been very successful.
Okay, but Scott, let me back up to your terminology about this big bucket. In that bucket, we have money, but let's talk about the amount of money that's in there. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, we're in trouble, 10 being, hey, we're in pretty good shape. Where are we financially and economically for the state of Idaho going into 2014?
I would say we're at a 7 out of 10. I mean, we're not, back in the early, 2005, 2006, back in those days, our state's economy was growing at what turned out to be an unsustainable rate of, 9 or 10% a year. Now, we put a lot of that money into savings accounts, and, that ended up helping us get through the recession. But and this year we're looking at it probably this fiscal year that's going to end in June, it will be about 3.5% larger than the previous year, and then we're going to set a budget based on about a 4% increase over this fiscal year. So we're growing at a sustainable rate. There's no runaways, but it's it's going along pretty good. I mean, we've been ranked as a great state to do business in by many of these business magazines. At the end of the year they always put top 10 lists on, and Idaho made another one of those top 5 lists of the most business friendly environments, or in the top 3 or 4. So there's a lot of things that are going well in Idaho, and we just want to build on that.
All right.
Again, being prudent with the money, not spending more than, and the governor, and I certainly agree with him, is that we're not going to grow the size of government as fast as the economy grows. So if the economy grows by 5%, you put part of that money away, and then you do the maintenance of current operations that you have. But with regards to education, you've got some backfilling to do.
Absolutely. Scott, we have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, quickly, please.
Yes, Speaker. Bedke, I'm concerned there's a nationwide effort to try to push the state legislatures into calling for a constitutional convention. I think that would be a big mistake. I'd like your take on that and see if you've been approached along those lines. to open up for a wide open convention, which would be to in this situation. So I'd like him to comment on that. I'd certainly hope that the state of Idaho is smart enough to not fall for that trap.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for your call. Scott, go ahead, please.
Well, I mean, I'm sitting here in my office, and I have Mr. Levin's book, in the pile here, the night of the Liberty Amendments, and this book has created a lot of discussion on the topic that the caller brings up. And I am very concerned about a so-called runaway convention. Under Article 5 of the United States Constitution, states can, when you get a critical mass of states, they can call for a constitutional convention. Now, this is never, well, I guess it's only been used rarely, but what happens when the states start talking about a constitutional convention, then Congress usually acts, and that's how you got several of the amendments that we had to the United States Constitution is when it looked like the states were going to call for a constitutional convention. So, whether those amendments turned out to be good things or bad things, I guess that's in the eye of the beholder. But as the Speaker of the House, I've been approached. I will get a letter or an email on this subject a couple of times a week at least, and I think that there are some ills that could be corrected if you could, if you had if you had the ability to control a constitutional convention. But again, as soon as you get enough states that are willing to do that, then Congress, at least historically, has acted.
Excellent.
But I am not in favor of a runaway constitutional convention. I mean, that'd be foolish. I mean, I think the right thinking states or the correct thinking states sadly might be in a minority, and I don't want to. If I get to amend the Constitution, that's one thing. But if our neighbors in California get to amend it, then I got a problem with that.
Absolutely. Scott, I want to jump into some other subjects real quick, so I've got time to cover these. Of course, one of the biggest disasters, and I'm going to call it that because I think it's going to hurt America permanently, and that's Obamacare. We've seen this thing when it came off the press as far as their computer internet services. It's been a debacle. We've seen people have their coverage canceled. We've seen this administration tout the fact that, 1.1 million people have signed up, and people that have never had health care are getting it, but yet 3.8 million people have lost their policies. This is insane, the way this has been implemented. How has this affected the state of Idaho?
Well, it's going to end up costing us all more money because the mandates that the federal government have put on to everyone's policies, there's more things that are covered in your health insurance now. And so those just cost more. I mean, Idaho is historically enjoyed some of the lowest health insurance costs in the nation. And because the state of Idaho, when we were running things, did not put mandates on insurance companies when they did business here. Now, if you as the consumer wanted to buy riders on your insurance policy, that was entirely up to you. But we didn't force insurance companies to add them just as a requirement for doing business here. So number one, now there's all these new things that have to be on these insurance policies, and so that will drive the cost up for everyone. Back to our earlier topic, including school districts, and so we're ill-equipped to address that in school districts in many cases. So, but that. I think that eventually this implodes under its own weight. I don't, it's unsustainable, these types of costs, and there's no political appetite for this nationalized mandated health care. There are some problems we have a large entitlement sector. Or entitled sector of the population. I mean, there's about a third of the population that who gets their health insurance from the government, either after the fact or before the fact, and that's a huge expense on taxpayers. And I think that we need to get back to Medicaid. I think we need to get back to the original scope, which was to provide health insurance for the disabled and for children, and pare this back to just that. And I think that the state can do a lot of, can be very proactive on that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the federal mandates, I mean, we've done everything in the Idaho legislature. I mean, we voted to nullify the bill. We were the first, the second state right after Virginia to sue the federal government on this, and lost. And I mean, we've been very active against, fighting against the implementation of Obamacare. And we'll continue to do that.
All right, Scott, one final point here this morning. There's been a big push, and we've seen quite a few stories in the newspaper on the state and federal basis for the improvement of the infrastructure, our highways, by having an implementation of perhaps a 15-cent per gallon gas tax increased for all drivers. Now, if that's the only way we can get the money, I'll sit here and say, okay, fine, I'll go along with the 15-cent per gallon increase. But the first politician that takes that money out of the till for something other than the infrastructure, I would advocate that we break his arm in 3 places. We've got to have more assurances that that money will only go to where it's supposed to go.
Well, that's the problem with these trust funds at the federal level, is that exactly what they'll do, because they did it with Social Security, they've done it with the pension funds, they've done it with the Medicare funds. So all of these good ideas of funds that were created, that were dedicated solely for a specific purpose, and that were going to be actuarially sound to address that purpose, they start using those and leveraging those funds for other things. And so I'm concerned that that would happen again. And and you and I are both old enough to if the past is any indicator of the future, without major reforms that's exactly what they'll do. So I'm more comfortable having that 15 cents be allocated at the state level, because we do keep those monies separate. We do not, the monies that you spend for registration and gas tax or diesel tax or fuel taxes in Idaho only go to the roads and the upkeep of the roads, which includes a portion to the state police. Other than that, it all goes to the road. So I think the state's in a much better position to oversee that and to do it in a way that is honest with the taxpayers. One other little thing I would like to see, because many of the rural roads and the roads outside of the state highway system or the federal highway system are supported by local property taxes and a portion of the state's gas tax. I don't know, but what it's time to revisit that formula and get more of those dollars out out to the highway districts. And but it'll be interesting, because the feds may come in and just impose that. And I would rather, if we're going to do that, I would much prefer that money be managed at the state level.
Absolutely. Scott Bedke, Speaker of the House, and has been a great representative for the state of Idaho. I wish you well during the legislative session. God's blessings. And when I get back in the saddle again, I'll have you on the program. So thank you so much for your time here this morning. Well,
you're certainly welcome, Zeb, and we should, when you do get back in the saddle, and by the way, Godspeed on that. We need to set up a routine, and I think it's important that we have a regular visit with your listeners during the legislative session, because the decisions that we're making certainly affect each of us. And I think it's very useful to be in touch with your listeners, not because they call in, but the phone calls that these types of things prompt afterwards, and they know that my number's in the book and I'm always available, and that is that helps me as a legislator stay, not get too far out from our constituency. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Scott Bedke, Speaker of the House. God's blessings, and have a great session, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
Happy New Year, Zeb.
Happy New Year to you, too. Thank you so much. Very good friend, and getting ready for the legislative session in Boise, Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke. Don't forget, great big January clearance where you can save up to 75% on all one-of-a-kind floor samples at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More in Burley. Holy cow! You've got sofas at ridiculously low prices. You've got recliners, $199 to $299. You've got bunk beds, $279. Carpet remnants and vinyl flooring, and you've got all the plush-top twin-set mattresses. You better stop in. No money down, no interest until June 2014 at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. What? They're waiting right now to see you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Happy New Year. And I mean that to everybody out in the audience, all the folks out there celebrating now the last day of 2013. And I want to emphasize this. Be careful. Whatever you're going to do tonight to celebrate, I know that I'll probably be tucked away in my little bed by early this evening because I'm not a night person anymore. But for those of you that are out partying and having a good time to welcome in perhaps the new year, be careful. Be wise.
Yes.
Be wise.
Get yourself a designated driver.
Or two.
Yep.
There you go. Hey, before we take our next caller and get him on the air, a good friend of ours, Doug Johnson, I want to remember and remind you about Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, boy, that is where the fun is sold. Holy buckets. You got to stop in and check out all the snowmobiles. You've got to get in there and check out that wide, varied display of all the ATVs. I mean, walk in that front door and just go, ooh, wow, look at them all. And all the accessories for everything you like to do outside. Stop in, and don't forget they've got a parts and service department that these guys really know what they're doing. Stop in. It's where the fun is sold. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. It's Let's Ride. You stop over and see them for all your outdoor fun needs. Well, right now we're going to go to the telephone. And we're going to have a very good friend on the program with us this morning, and that happens to be the Sage of Colorado, and, of course, the author of No Tomorrows and the Horse Sense blog, my dear friend, Doug Johnson. Good morning, Doug. How are you?
Well, I'm good, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Well, there's a lot of things that, quite frankly, I'm a little bit upset about, more than upset, as we get ready to have our program this morning. I'm very concerned, Doug, about the status of government, control, etc. I made up a top 10 earlier this morning of worries that I have going into 2014, and I'm going to give you a very short synopsis. You can pick any one that you want to talk about, including the first one, which goes right along with a story that you sent me. I said I'm very concerned about more regulations in 2014. I'm very concerned about more environmental problems in 2014. I'm very afraid about more racism in 2014. I'm very concerned about health care coverage problems. I'm very concerned about tinderbox situations like the Middle East. Benghazi, I said, I think will be swept under the table in benefit for Hillary to become running for president. I said I'm very, very concerned about the House being retained by the Republicans, and I think if they don't get their act together, they will not stand a chance to gain any Senate seats. I said there's going to be more rules to soften sports and more of a wussification of America, and I said the gays and lesbians and transgenders will do anything in this next year, 2014, to gain more control in our society. And I also said in the top 10, something very sinister will come out of the Oval Office regarding Obama and his presidency. Now, your turn, Doug. Go ahead.
Boy, Zeb, you're like a buffet that you don't know what to choose from. That's quite a list, and I can't say that I disagree with any of it. I think I'm going to take this from a little different angle than just trying to pick something there. I heard a little bit of your show yesterday, and you had a caller call in, and he said something that just, and I only heard your show for a few minutes, but this just jumped out at me, and I think this really fits for where you're going here. He was exasperated, and he said, you know, what's happening to our nation? And later in the day, I was talking to my wife, and I said to her, you know, I said, that's the question we shouldn't be asking. We need to change the way we're thinking. We need to say, what happened to our nation? It's already happened. Mm-hmm. How do we turn this around? And I'm not condemning the caller at all. I think his passion was very well felt and very well said. But our nation is not just under assault. Our nation, you know, we have lost the war. We got to get this thing back. And I think that this is the focus we have to have. We can get really caught up on a lot of little things, such as the story I sent you about in Ohio. They passed a law that allows them to actually arrest drivers if they find compartments in their car that are hidden. And it's not that the cop arrested the guy. It's not that the State Patrol in Ohio is backing. It's the fact that the legislature will be stupid enough to pass such a law. You know, those of us who live out here in the West, over the years I had various vehicles, had a number of Jeeps, and I'd often go four-wheeling up into the mountains, and we'd get as far as we could off-road, and then we would pull out our stuff and go hiking on in, and we might even go overnight or at least for the day or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we might leave a few things in the vehicle and lock them in a compartment that was hidden.
Absolutely.
Now, that would be illegal under Ohio law. And I'm not bringing this up to talk about that particular issue, but my point is we have so many of these things going on, we have to figure out how do we take the country back. And I know you're aware of some of the efforts people are making to push for some amendments to our Constitution through the states and not use Congress. And I think this is a really important idea that we really need to, those of us who have a platform like you and I, we really need to be educating those who listen to us about, you know, what we can do in our local areas to start moving this forward, because our founding fathers built into our system a way for us, when this government gets out of control like it is today, a way for us to take that government back. And this is what we need to focus on and not get caught up in the outlying areas, I guess I should say.
Well, Doug, the story that you sent me about a driver arrested for having an empty compartment in his vehicle, I was so taken aback when I read that because, quite frankly, in my vehicles, and not to describe anything more than that, I have some secretive type areas that are nobody else's business. Now, according to what this story says from the state of Ohio, if I get picked up in the state of Ohio and they find a secreted area, then I can be arrested and charged with what? I mean, this is under the headline of more regulations, more government control on private citizens and property. This thing just reeks against going anything for a free society.
Well, it absolutely does. I recently got on Twitter, and I'm learning to tweet, as they say, and I tweeted it right after I sent it to you with the question, what's next? We won't be allowed to have clothing with pockets?
No, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah. I mean, this is the insanity of this. I absolutely don't have a problem if the police search a vehicle and find something in a hidden compartment. They arrest somebody if they find drugs or something illegal. Sure, that's fine. That's been going on. But for the Ohio legislature to pass a law that says it's illegal to have a concealed compartment is just amazing to me.
Now, you know as well as I do, Doug, on vehicles of today's stature, whether it's a pickup, an SUV, or a car, there are, quote-unquote, some little compartments, whether you want to hide some money or if you want to put a pair of sunglasses or whatever. There are those hidden compartments. And quite frankly, if the law, and the law reads as follows, folks, in case you want to know what the Ohio law says, Doug sent it to me, and it says, no person shall knowingly operate, possess, or use a vehicle with a hidden compartment with knowledge that the hidden compartment is used or intended to be used to facilitate the unlawful concealment or transportation of a controlled substance. Well, now, wait a minute, Doug. I'm not going to have any drugs in my vehicle. I'm certainly not going to have them to disperse or transport, but I do have concealed little areas where I might keep some money or whatever. That's nobody else's business but mine.
Well, that's absolutely right. And who is to say what that was intended to be used for?
Amen.
And what that's saying is that the government has the right to say, we don't care what you tell us. You have that compartment, and we know what you were going to use that for. I mean, this absolutely removes our constitutional rights. This is an absolute violation of that. And, I mean, we can take this to extremes, but I think, as I said in a blog post a week or so ago, when you take an argument to an extreme, it should hold up. If it won't, then the argument is faulty. This is a perfect example of an extreme. Many people have those little compartments that are magnetic. They put under their car to keep an extra key. I've never used one. I'm always afraid it's going to fall off. But that's a compartment. Would that be considered illegal?
That's right.
Where do we draw the line? And so, once again, I go back to, if they find the contraband or whatever's illegal in the vehicle, absolutely, they have a right to arrest somebody. But just to have a compartment, it just is amazing to me. It's going to boil down to, I think we're all going to have to ride bicycles so they can see what we have with us.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Let's go back to the first sentence of the law. It says, no person, absolutely none, shall knowingly operate, possess, or use a vehicle with a hidden compartment with knowledge that the hidden compartment is used or intended to be used to facilitate unlawful concealment or transportation of a controlled substance. The first part of that says even use. If you get behind the wheel of a vehicle that has one of these little compartments, are you breaking the law from the get-go?
And I think based on what this says, they would say yes. I think the prosecutors would say yes. And the legislator would say, well, we said they have to knowingly, be aware of it. Well, the fact is, that's a moot point, because who can prove whether you knew it or not?
Yeah.
And so let's just say, for the sake of example, you go to visit your kids, and they have some friends over, whatever, and your car is blocked in the driveway, where you need to run to the store to get some ice. And one of the young people just says, here, just take my car. And you get in his car, and you get pulled over for whatever reason, and there's one of these compartments. Maybe even some residue of some illegal substance you and even your children didn't know about, but their friend is into some nasty stuff. Now you're in trouble because and the compartment's empty, but there's enough there they can prove with little testing, because you know how they can use microscopic amounts to test these days. I mean, it gets so extreme. It's not your vehicle. You've ordered to run to 7-Eleven for some ice, and all of a sudden you're in trouble. I mean, the only ones I could see celebrating this are the defense attorneys.
Yeah, but Doug, think about it this way, though. You are innocent until proven guilty. But with these laws, what are they going to do? Set up traps on the interstate and on the highways to pull you over, and they're going to call it a compartment checking law, to where they will go through and facilitate a search and seizure on your vehicle to see if you have any hidden compartments? This is Gestapo, Doug.
Well, it is, and it even goes further, Zeb, because you say set up these traffic stops. They've already set up traffic stops in places like Ohio, Texas, Tennessee, where they're pulling people over and demanding DNA swabs, and in some cases even blood samples, randomly from people. And this is absolutely out of science fiction, from what you and I have grown up with, the free nation we know.
That's
gone away now.
Now
we're seeing them take action. If you look at our police departments, and if there's any police officers listening, please understand I have the greatest respect and love for law enforcement. But I am concerned in our country that the mindset that our legislators have laid the groundwork for, and the training of our police to be really more paramilitary than servants of the public, has really changed the tone in the relationship between society and law enforcement. And so instead of looking at law enforcement as our friends, many people, especially young people these days, are saying these people are our enemy, and that's not healthy either for our country. We should be looking at law enforcement and military and people who serve our nation as wonderful servants of our country, and once in a while one of them steps out of line, you hold them accountable. But instead, everything like this it creates a division between us and the people in power, and that's not healthy for a nation of free people like us.
But we're both missing the key point to this whole story. The key point to this whole story was about a man by the name of Norman Gurley that was pulled over, and police suspected that he might have had drugs or something in his vehicle, and absolutely there was nothing found. There was no drugs on his person, nor in the car, nor could it be proven proven that he intended to conceal any drugs, but he was still arrested, here we go, for the crime of having a hidden compartment in the trunk of his car. Doug, this is lunacy. I will put in my vehicle anything I want to at the risk of being illegal. If it's a hidden compartment for something I want to hide, I will hide it.
Well, absolutely, and I go back to, what I was saying at the beginning. Many of us, especially those of us who are outdoor enthusiasts, or at least back when I was, before I got old and fat and out of shape, we go places with vehicles that have easy access, and so you want something that can conceal things so it's safe when you're out of the vehicle. It may be the back of your pickup truck. It may be a vehicle like a Jeep or something, but I just can't understand the logic of the legislators who passed this law, making it illegal to have a hidden compartment.
Absolutely. We got a caller with a question. Caller, real fast, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, this law sounds like a precursor to having a secret compartment or room in your house.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's have Doug discuss that on the air. Doug, I think that's an excellent point. Where do you make the discernment against private property, a vehicle, or private property, your house, with a private concealed compartment or apartment within the house?
I think that's an extremely good point. This is just it. Where is the line? If it's your property, whether it's mobile or it's actual land with buildings or whatever, you should have a right to have that property any way you choose. If it's used for illegal purposes, they have a right to get a warrant and search and do what they have to do. And if they find something illegal, they can hold you accountable. I have no problem with that at all. That's the law, and that's the way it should be. But he's right. If we look at the real intent of this, it goes beyond vehicles. Now, I'm sure the Ohio legislature would say, well, we're trying to stop the trafficking of drugs. But the implications are so much greater if something like this is allowed to stand. I'm amazed, and I hope that this Mr. Gurley, who was arrested, I hope he will not only file suit, but take this as high as he can go in the court system, because this is something that should be challenged.
Doug, when you look at your state, okay, now let's be calling a spade here. Your state of Colorado now with the laws allowing marijuana usage, and that vehicle leaves and goes into the state of Nebraska, and they're arrested over in Nebraska. Even though there's no drugs in the car, they left them all in Colorado. I mean, look at the headaches that are going to go through the court system in trying to enforce this idiocy.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I'll give you a good example. Texas actually has told their law enforcement, and I don't blame them, that any cars with a Colorado plate, look at them carefully, and if you find any reason at all to stop them and search them, because of the legalization of drugs in Colorado, or of marijuana in Colorado, they're looking for people who are transporting the drugs. And so a Colorado license plate is a red flag to Texas law enforcement. And when I first heard that, I thought, doggone it, if I go down to Texas to see family I have down there, I've got a bullseye on my back. But then I thought, well, I got nothing to hide. But it's sad that it's come to that point, but it's because of the stupidity of Colorado passing a law like that in the first place. And of course, I still raise the issue, it's still illegal federally, so why should somebody be getting it anyway? The fact that our federal government won't enforce the law and lets Colorado get away with it, which I realize is a whole other story, but that's another issue. We should have, when it comes to things like illegal drugs, we should have uniform laws across the country, or it should just all fall under federal rule, because this is the kind of thing that causes a nightmare and a mess that'll be so tangled that spaghetti will look like a minor issue.
Well, here's the thing we need to check on, and I'm going to do some research on this while I'm laid up for the next couple of weeks. We need to find out, other than Ohio, what other states are absolutely thinking about something so stupid. Now, let's reiterate the point that Norman Gurley, 30-year-old that was arrested, was not an Ohio resident. He was from Michigan, and he was pulled over for speeding. Now, my question to you is, Doug, how many times have you been picked up for speeding? I know I've been picked up for speeding on numerous occasions. And then all of a sudden this man's life is tipped upside down because of a hidden compartment in his vehicle that did not have any malicious or illegal activity, and he's in a strange state. I mean, you go through Ohio, you're doomed.
Well, absolutely. And, thankfully it's been years since I've been picked up for speeding. But certainly I've had those situations, and the last time was for doing literally 1 mile an hour over the speed limit, and I lost in court on that, which is a whole other discussion. But the point is that it opens the door, and it also makes you stop and say, well, do I even dare go to another state?
Yeah.
I mean, it just gets ridiculous. Now, I'm sure that law enforcement would argue and say, well, stay within the speed limit. Well, I think, I try to, but there's no doubt that we all at times do drift over the speed limit somewhat. You're in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, you look down, all of a sudden you're doing 38 or something. But I hear what you're saying, Zeb, and this just raises all sorts of implications. And it also raises implications for the relations between the states.
Absolutely.
I think that we're sitting on a mess here that the only way the government will respond to this, I believe, and I hate to say this, but I think the only way they will respond to this is they will crack down even tighter. They'll make things worse. It'll become more of a police-like state, because the only answer the government has to anything is stronger enforcement and power. That's the only answers they ever come up with.
We've got a caller with a question, and then I got to wrap things up. Caller, go ahead, please.
Yeah, Zeb, I carry a concealed weapon almost all the time, and my concealed weapon permit is strictly for Idaho. Now, Joyce has one, the Utah permit, that covers quite a few states, and so that gives me the right, when she's with me, to have that concealed weapon concealed, and in both states around.
Right.
And so what do I do if I get into another state and they arrest me for having a concealed weapon?
That's a really...
Can she cover for me?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and legally, I don't know the answer on that. Doug, I'm going to have Doug do this over the air. Fred, thank you for your call. Doug, that opens up a can of worms for all of us that have concealed weapons permits, and I am one of them, along with that gentleman that just called. And now it seems like the law has become so insidious, and it's so far-reaching to not only question us about our concealed weapons permits, but anything that's concealed and or, quote, hidden in our vehicle. Wow, we've lost all of our freedoms, Doug.
Oh, yeah, and, this could easily be used as a springboard for them to go after Second Amendment rights. We've read in recent years in New York City, because of the laws, that people going into New York City who are licensed, have concealed carry permits in the area they're from, and they go into New York City, they've been caught and been arrested, ended up in jail because they can't have it there. And the response of New York authorities is then, don't bring your weapon here because you're not legal here to have it.
Absolutely.
And while I understand that and I respect that, the flip side of that is that, somebody who has a concealed carry permit would have it for protection, and they're going to want protection wherever they go. And why shouldn't the Second Amendment allow them to, if they're legally licensed and carrying it, to carry it anywhere in the country? I don't understand that.
Absolutely. I've only got time for one quick call. Short call, short answer. Go ahead quickly, please.
Yeah, the question I asked, what about my Ford pickup? It's supposedly illegal because hidden compartments put in there by the Ford Motor Company.
That's exactly right. Doug, respond to that. Caller, thank you, Doug. There are so many vehicles, and I know my pickup's the same way, and I know my car's the same way. They have little hidden compartments. I found one in my car the other day I didn't even know existed. How do they determine and or come up with the terminology hidden compartment?
I think only the courts are going to end up sorting this out as more and more. They said this was the first guy who was, I think, arrested under this, and I think that as more people run into this problem, this is going to be challenged. And the question is, if this spreads beyond one state, becomes a federal issue, then I'm sure there'll be mandates to the car manufacturers that you can't put these in. But then we come back to the question, what about all the used cars out there? And so, I think that this is an absolute nightmare. And we're just seeing the beginning with this one arrest, but I think this should be a warning sign to us as citizens that this is the kind of stuff we have to stop.
Absolutely. Doug Johnson, the author of No Tomorrows and also the great Horse Sense blog, a dear friend. Happy New Year, Doug. God's blessings to you.
Happy New Year to you and your listeners, Zeb. And Zeb, when you're in that hospital for surgery, we'll be praying for you.
I appreciate that, Doug, and the best to you and your family. Thank you so much. God bless.
Thank you.
Very interesting subject this morning, and I'm going to pursue this a lot farther. About this gentleman that was arrested, Norman Gurley from Michigan, arrested in Ohio for his vehicle having a empty hidden compartment. We've got to quickly do the weather. I am running so late right now. The weather brought to you this hour by our dear friends at Magic Valley Chalet and Upper Crust, 1367th Street in Heyburn. And at the Magic Valley Chalet, they have Christmas candy, 40% off. They've got delicious ice creams, all the cheese, everything. And upstairs, the delicious menu at the restaurant of the Upper Crust. It is good. You're going to love it. Magic Valley Chalet and Upper Crust. Here is a weather update.
Looks like mostly cloudy skies for today. High of 42. Tonight the clouds are going to be clearing out with a low near 27. Tomorrow for New Year's Day, mostly sunny and 41. Pretty much the same for Thursday and Friday. We do have a slight chance of snow showers in the forecast with a high near 42.
There you go. Thank you, Magic Valley Chalet and Upper Crust in Heyburn, serving you. It is good. Oh my, let's see, we've got a bunch of things we have to take care of here. Next hour, we're going to have a short visit with our dear friend Brent Lee at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. And then Dr. History comes on the program at about 10:10. He's going to be on the air. And then at 10:32 this morning, with some of the changes we had to make because of an abbreviated holiday week with New Year's, we're going to have a 10:30 School Days in Cassia County with Superintendent of Schools for Cassia County, Galen Smyers, so don't miss that. You know, so many times during the course of a week, at this time of the day, I get hungry and I am starving to death. I know some great places to go for lunch. Are you ready for this? How about Taco Bandito, 2301 Overland Avenue in Burley? Homemade pumpkin empanadas with whipped cream. They're good, along with the tamalito burritos and the taco salad burritos. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Taco Bandito, 2301 Overland in Burley. And the two locations of Burgers, etc. 124 South Oneida in Rupert and 700 North Overland in Burley. Oh, shrimp dinners on Sunday, finger steaks after 3 p.m., and eggnog and pumpkin shakes, and burgers and cheeseburgers, and the list just goes on and on. You are going to love the food at both locations of Burgers, etc. in Rupert and Burley. Don't you forget it. Let's move on over to Steve-O's, 290 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Food made the way you like it. And don't forget hot, homemade soup made fresh every day. Fresh cut Idaho French fries. And they've got jalapeno burgers with lots of spicy peppers. And they've got steaks and chicken and seafood and everything you like. You'll love it at Steve-O's, 290 South, 600 west of Heyburn. And last but not least, how about the AC Drive-In, 601 East Main in Burley? Ranch burgers, famous Farmer Brown burgers. My grandsons love them. Oh, fries, the fry sauce, all the shakes, the pumpkin shakes, everything. It is so good. You're going to love it. AC Drive-In, stop in today, 601 East Main in Burley. And those are just a couple of great places to go when you're hungry and starving to death. Gina, real quick, I've got about a minute and a half, 2 minutes left. I had told you earlier I was going to have that story on with Doug Johnson, and you had a chance to listen to the verbiage on that. This is insidious. This is encroachment. This is a loss of our civil freedoms. This is absolutely a scary story.
It is a very scary story, and there are hidden compartments that the dealerships, the manufacturers, actually put into the cars that sometimes we don't know about.
That's right.
We're going to be hammered on by law enforcement on a secret compartment we didn't know about. This is complete infringement.
Well, what scared me was the way the law was written in Ohio, and I'm no lawyer. I took a little bit of pre-law at the University of Wisconsin, but we both decided that I wouldn't be a good attorney, and their law classes were better for it. But the way it's worded right here, and I'll read it again because it ought to scare everybody. No person shall knowingly operate, possess, or use a vehicle with a hidden compartment in it. Well, I do every day.
I do every day, too. I mean, how can a person know of a hidden compartment in their vehicle, especially if they just purchased it? They wouldn't know.
Yeah, but on the other hand, Gina, there's a lot of things in your vehicle, quickly respond to this, that you don't want the general public to see and or know is in the vehicle, and it's a quote-unquote hidden compartment.
Exactly, and that's why they have the hidden compartments. So I think that Ohio lawmakers seriously need to revamp, rewrite, or just take this law off the books.
Absolutely. We are going to have a full hour coming up next hour with a lot of interesting people. Don't miss it. Like I said, we're going to have Brent Lee on at 10:06. Dr. History, one of our favorite subjects, will be on at 10:10. And then, of course, at 10:30 this morning, Superintendent of Schools for Cassia County, Galen Smyer. All of this and much more on Zeb at the Ranch. Happy New Year. I'll be back in 6. Oh, my. Welcome back, hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch. Whoops, lost an earplug. There we go. Can't hear. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and of course some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call Kelly and the crew at 734-6969. And our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland and Burley. And here now, Mr. Brent Lee.
I'm waiting to get him on the phone.
Oh, and here in just a moment, Mr. Brent Lee.
Yes, he's apparently, I'm on hold.
Oh, okay. I'll do a quick commercial.
Okay.
And we'll welcome everybody to go to the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, they've got a special today. Deanne just handed it to me. It's going to be a ground round steak with gravy and onions and fries or tots for just $5.95. And listen here, all of ye who want to go out and celebrate for the new year, a New Year's Eve special tonight at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. A 16-ounce ribeye, choice potatoes, super salad, just $17.95. Oh, that will be ripping good. You better believe it. Food is delicious. People are really nice at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Let's check and see if Brent Lee's on the phone.
Still on hold.
Oh, boy. We're going to have to get rolling because we got Dr. History waiting. I'll tell you what we might do is maybe we could get him on at about 10:30 after the special report that you have, and then then I'll go to Dr. History right now.
Okay, you got it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, one of our favorite segments. Evidently, Brent's tied up over at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More, and we're going to move right now to Dr. History. Good morning, Dr. Ken Turner. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing great.
Sorry to keep you waiting, but we've had a slight change in the scheduling because of New Year's and New Year's Eve and everything. But welcome aboard, my friend.
Well, thank you. Hope you have a good New Year tomorrow.
You know, I got to tell you something. That little basket of goodies you sent over here, that bread that was in that basket of goodies made the best French toast I've ever had in my life. Oh, outstanding. Well, outstanding. Good. Anyhow.
Well, you know, tomorrow they're having a big parade and football game in my honor because it's my birthday.
You know what? I owe you a big apology. I knew it was your birthday, and I forgot to send you a card. I forgot to send you consolations for getting so much older than I am.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, and I just want to extend to you happy birthday.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. You sound like you got a little cold.
I'm a little hoarse, but I'm okay.
Well, you're just a Shetland pony.
I know. I may have to stop in between and take a little drink here once in a while.
Well, it depends on what you're snorkeling on over there.
It's cold and it's clear and it's just water.
All right. What are you going to do to tantalize us for the last day of 2013?
All right. Zeb, when I say the word grizzly, and there's a certain guy's name that follows that, what name comes to your mind?
Adams.
Grizzly Adams.
Yep.
Bear Man of California.
Yep.
So, all right, I want you to picture here coming down from the craggy mountains and the canyons, strolling along with a beat-up creaking wagon. Here's this guy. He's in his early 40s. But he's got a white beard, long gray hair. He's got buckskins that are torn and dirty. He's got a fur hat that covers his head. He's got an assistant by the name of Drury that's driving a wagon that's filled with cages that's holding foxes and wolves and other animals. He's got some deer, elk, antelope, and tied behind this whole thing is a couple of big old grizzly bears.
Tied behind grizzly bears?
Yeah, behind the wagon. He's got them tied to the axle of the wagon.
And they're walking along with the wagon.
Yeah.
Holy buckets.
So just picture this, this California mountaineer, he's got this motley crew, and he's carrying a stick in case he has to kind of nudge one of the animals to keep in line.
Oh, wait, whoa, stop just a minute. Now, you tell me how tough and brave you are. You tell me, Dr. History, that you're going to take a stick and nudge a grizzly bear and tell him to get in line. Go ahead, tell me that.
Yeah, and their names, Benjamin Franklin and Lady Washington. Those were the names of these two bears.
Okay.
But they could wrestle. They could turn somersaults. They could grizzly could ride on their back, you know. And when they passed through villages and farms, people would stop, obviously, and they'd stare, and some would shout out questions. They'd say, "Well, you know, what kind of bears are those?" And he'd say, "Well, they're grizzly bears." And the people would then, at that point, drop back a little farther because the grizzlies were killing people, ranchers, livestock, and people pretty well considered they were natural-born killers. But here was old grizzly, old bearded, buckskin-clad grizzly, walking along with these like it was no big deal.
Oh, my goodness.
So they actually called him back then Old Adams, not Grizzly Adams. That came later.
I see.
But as he was known at the time, he put on this kind of ragtag show in San Jose and several smaller towns on his way to San Francisco. And this was in the summer of 1856. And what he'd do, he'd get to a town, he'd find a suitable corral, and he would set his animal cages around the inside. Then he would let the animals roam inside, and he'd guide them through the various acts that, it was kind of crude stuff, but, you know, the people loved it. And once old Adams got to the great city, old San Francisco, his legend really blossomed then. Now, his name really was John Adams, and he was had a real affinity for animals. He's actually born in Massachusetts in 1812, and he actually trained as a shoemaker, a cobbler.
Really?
But he really liked being outdoors, and he tried his hand at catching wild game for a touring animal show, but after he got mauled by a tiger, he returned to making shoes. So it kind of discouraged him there. But he got married, he settled down, he had a wife and 3 kids, and lived there in Massachusetts. But in 1849 was the gold rush, California, so he headed out. He staked some claims, he bought a store and a saloon, but these failed. More bad luck followed. His cattle got stolen. Anyway, he said he'd had enough of all this stuff, and he loaded up a wagon, some oxen, some rifles, blankets, and cooking stuff, and he headed into the hills, into the Sierra Nevadas.
Mm-hmm.
So here he is out there. He was going to shun society and just live with the animals in the forest. So with the help of some friendly Indians, he built a shelter, and he did learn to live off the land. He hunted and trapped bears and other animals, and he sold their skins. But he was fascinated with the California grizzlies because they were bigger than the black bears from back east.
Well,
I didn't know that.
Holy smokes.
So, but there was a merchant by the name of Solon that he hired Adams as a hunting guide to go into Yosemite and to take some people in their hunting. So as they were going into the valley, the 2 hunters that he was taking in, they were busy killing and skinning game, and Adams found a bear den, and he watched it for 3 days. Well, when a big old grizzly female came out one morning, he could hear some cubs, and that's what he wanted. He wanted some cubs to train, so he knew what he had to do. Well, he shot the mama grizz, and as he was carrying the 2 cubs back to camp, he realized he had a serious problem. Their eyes were closed, which meant they were still on mama's milk. And he tried a mixture of sugar, water, and flour, but that didn't work. So it happened at this time he had a greyhound dog that had just given birth to a litter of pups.
Now, this is going to be an unhappy dog.
Well, and as he puts it, despite some argument from the dog, Adams killed all but one of the pups to make room for these 2 bear cubs at the greyhound dinner table. So Adams named these 2 cubs Benjamin Franklin and General Jackson.
Oh, my.
And that's how he started with these. So now in 1854, with the help of some Indian friends, he moved his growing collection to some mining camps, and he'd pick a location, get a corral, and he'd chain his animals, and he'd put on the show. And he'd have the bears wrestle each other, then they'd perform tricks, they'd race. Next, they'd have a fight between 2 bears. Then they'd one of his bigger bears would take on a pack of the local dogs, and Adams would offer cash prizes for the best dogs. And, it was kind of a festival or festive occasion. He'd hire a band and have drinks and one thing and another.
Well, now, wait, whoa, stop. When you say that he was going to fight, the bear was going to fight the dogs. Right. Well, no, it sounds to me like the old bear was going to do away with the dogs. This wasn't exactly sanctioned by the Humane Society of the United States, was it?
No, I think PETA would get after them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, anyway, and I think he may have probably had him trained where the bear just kind of probably knocked him around.
Oh, just a little slap every now and then. Nothing like getting a head slap from a grizzly.
That's right. And we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Speaking about getting knocked around. Anyway, he went on up into Oregon for a while, and he found some more, he wanted more grizzlies. And this time he caught a couple of cubs, but they were about a year old. And so they were bigger, and so what he did, he lassoed them, roped them, and then he chained them to a tree, and he didn't quite know how to started training them. So what he did is he just got a willow, and he went in and just kind of beat on them. Mm-hmm. It didn't hurt him, but he just kind of I don't know, tamed them, I guess. And so the one bear, he finally just laid down, and he went and patted her, and anyway, it worked. He was able to train, and this is another bear that he called Lady Washington.
Yeah.
And Lady Washington would actually carry packs when he was going from one place to another. But,
now, I'm assuming when you said he roped these bears, did he rope those bears on horseback?
I doubt it. I mean, I don't think a horse is going to stick around.
Not on this lifetime.
I don't think so. So, but anyway, he kept Ben Franklin and Lady Washington and several others for his collection, and he traveled over quite a distance. We really don't know how far he went, but now there was one point where he had kind of a dangerous encounter with a mama bear with 3 cubs.
Yeah.
The she bear knocked his rifle from his hands with her left paw, knocked him to the ground with her right paw, and then started biting him in the back. Now, Ben Franklin, Adams' tame grizzly bear, jumped into the fight and distracted the she-bear long enough for Adams to climb a tree and reload his rifle and shoot the bear.
Okay, now we got to stop there again because we have a little notation in history that draws a question from me.
Okay.
Climb a tree? Isn't that what you're not supposed to do when you're out with bears?
Well, at this point, I think he was just trying to get away from that bear long enough to get his rifle ready.
I see. Okay.
So now, another encounter, a grizzly struck Adams right on top of the head, tearing off his scalp, and actually punched a hole in his skull.
Oh my
bone!
Goodness sakes!
Now, this is gonna come back to haunt him a little later here. Okay?
Well, I imagine that.
So anyway, he went into San Francisco and he opened up an establishment. They called it the Mountaineer Museum, and he had bears and different animals, elk, tiger, mountain lion stuff, and anyway, he was quite a sensation there in San Francisco. But anyway, it came time that San Francisco kind of got used to seeing old Grizz out there walking the streets with his 2 bears, walking down the street for an evening stroll. So, but anyway, the attendance started falling off, and the cost was going up. So he decided to move everything to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
So he went around the Horn in a ship. Took 3 months to get around to New York City, and as soon as he got there, guess who should meet him but good old P.T. Barnum.
Oh my!
So Barnum was thrilled. He wanted to add Adams to his show. So anyway, so that's what they did, and it was Barnum who actually started the name Grizzly Adams. And the nickname stuck. So.
By the way, I got to ask you this. Did old Grizz, after that one encounter, did he have any hair on his head, or was he bald as a cue ball?
I'm going to get to that.
Oh, my goodness, you're always going to get to something.
Okay, so it was, like I say, Barnum, he's the one that made this stick, basically. So the city crowds, they were big, and so the proceeds, they made really a lot of money. And during a particular show, sometimes the animals didn't always do what they were supposed to do. If you remember Siegfried and Roy, those guys had a little incident here a few years ago.
A little incident.
Yeah. Well, during one particular show, he was working with General Fremont to perform, and this big old bear suddenly turned on him and seized his left arm in his mouth.
Oh, this isn't good. This isn't good.
No. So Adam struggled with the bear. His dog actually jumped in and distracted the bear long enough for Grizzly to get away. So, but the problem was, there was another problem. When Barnum met old Grizzly Adams, he took his hat off, and here was this bald head with, part of the skull missing from his scrape from this old grizzly bear that he'd had.
Yeah.
Well, this was also aggravated when a monkey later jumped on his head and bit into the wound.
Well, just stop here. Whoa, wait a minute. You're going much too fast for this old cowboy.
Okay.
A monkey jumped on his head and bit him in the spot where the bear had taken off his scalp?
Right. And there was no bone to the skull was literally broken in. And, this last blow from the bear basically, and I'm going to be a little graphic, it basically laid open his brain so that you could actually see inside his brain.
There's a lot of people that might have been questioning if there was a brain up there in the first place.
Well, Barnum knew the old trapper was dying at this point, and he'd already hired a replacement, and the doctors, they could only tell him what he already knew, that if the head was uncovered, you could actually see the blood vessels pulsating in this hole in his head. It wouldn't heal.
Well, imagine that.
There was no bone there.
How'd you get that last one? Well, a monkey jumped on my head. And
a few blows from a bear and then a monkey. So anyway, old Grizzly, he didn't want to give up. He wanted to establish financial security for his wife, and so he convinced Barnum to keep him on for another 10 weeks for an additional $500. And then something else happened, as if that wasn't enough.
Oh, my goodness. Now, I suppose you're going to tell me that a zebra hit him.
Into this, he got about a week to go.
Yeah.
And he's exhibiting another bear, and a black bear grabs him by the leg and just kind of throws him around.
Yeah.
The fierce battle goes on, another close call. Poor old Grizzly, he's not doing real good at this point. But he continued to exhibit at the bears, even though he could hardly get up and walk.
Yeah, but if it would have been today, even with all those pre-existing injuries, he still could have got Obamacare.
And then he'd be okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, at this point, old Grizzly, he went home, and he was only 48 years old, but he was scarred, he was tired, he was a sick old man. He returned to his wife and a daughter in Massachusetts, and there was a point one day where he was going along, and he kind of hit a bump in his wagon, and it kind of opened up the wound in his head, and he basically kind of bled to death.
Oh, my. After all that?
After all that, he just, it was pretty well, probably wouldn't take much. So, but, Grizzly Adams became well known. Actors portrayed him on the stage, even into 1890, and his name came back in about 1974. You probably remember this, the Life and Times of Grizzly Adams with, Dan Haggerty.
Dan Haggerty, yep.
Played Grizzly Adams, but there was nobody quite like the real old Grizzly Adams.
Now, in your research, the wife, now she must not have had too much to say in the marriage as far as, okay, Grizz, sit down here and have a cup of coffee. Listen, man, you've been eaten and chewed on for the last 20 years. Why don't we do something else? She evidently didn't have much control over the old boy.
Well, I think based on what I'm hearing about Grizzly Adams, he kind of liked being alone in the mountains. He was fascinated with the bears and the animals, and, he just, I guess it worked for them.
Wow, but those are devastating.
Living for them.
But all of a sudden you're going along, see, and you're talking about bears. You're talking about black bears. You're talking about grizzly bears, and then all of a sudden, out of the clear blue, you throw a monkey in the fray.
Well, yeah, like I say, he had all kinds of animals. elk, deer. He had mountain lions. He had all kinds of animals.
Well, you would have think
his favorite was the Grizz.
You would think that the guy would have wore a hat, maybe with a suicide strap on it, or whatever. That maybe the monkey couldn't have got going and pecking away at his head or something.
Well, I guess at that point, OSHA wasn't really involved in a lot of that stuff.
Well, this is one of the most weird stories you've ever had on this program, because this guy took a lot of physical abuse, and it was all self-imposed.
Yeah. I'm right in front of me. I've got a admission thing for 25 cents, or a thing that was in the newspaper, and it says, "Great show of animals, Mountaineer Museum." Let's see, the proprietor has just returned from the mountains with the largest collection of wild animals ever exhibited on the Pacific coast.
Really?
So, Samson, the largest grizzly bear ever caught, weighing 1,500 pounds.
Wow.
Lady Washington, weighing 1,000 pounds. Benjamin Franklin, king of the forest.
Now,
and then it says 2 young white bears from the Rocky Mountains.
Holy. Now, did he get all of these bears as cubs and train them?
I would think he would have to.
Yeah.
I mean, and then he talks about elk and lions and tigers, panthers, deer.
Panthers?
Again, those would all have to be caught young, I would think.
It doesn't say much for the whole story, though, when he can train these bears, and he can train a panther, and he lets a monkey be his demise?
Well, I suspect that monkey was probably just rolling around on his shoulders and just took a chunk out of his head.
You make it sound so tender.
Well, I don't know. I've seen monkeys in the zoo, and some of them don't look really all that friendly.
No, they do not, and I'd never want to be near a monkey. I've heard bad things about monkeys. Yeah. Listen, I want to tell you, that was an interesting story, but I honestly thought that Grizzly Adams, the TV show, I didn't know it was based on a real person, so you really taught me something. I thought that was all fiction.
All made up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Dan Haggerty, that show, as I recall, didn't last too long.
No.
He was kind of a kinder, gentler Grizzly Adams. He wasn't, I don't think he was quite the same as the real.
Yeah, but didn't Dan Haggerty have a bunch of problems, too? Health problems? I think he did.
I remember. I remember him from the movie, or from the show, but I don't remember anything about him after that.
We'll have to check on that. Listen, we've got just a minute here, and I want to say to you, folks, this is a dear friend of mine, Dr. Ken Turner, chiropractor in Burley, and I can't imagine having this program without his segment on it, Dr. History. He does such a wonderful job, and we're wrapping up 2013, and we're looking forward to 2014. Next week, you'll be on the air, hopefully with Sharon on this time slot. I'll be in Salt Lake City, but God's blessings and a Happy New Year to you.
Well, our prayers are with you, Zeb. I hope everything goes good for you.
Well, I appreciate that, Ken, and we'll certainly look forward to having you back on the program when I'm sitting here in the saddle. So thank you, and God's blessings and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, Zeb. We'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Thank you much. Holy smokes, there really was a real live Grizzly Adams. And a monkey was his demise. My goodness. Let's see what we got to do here real quick. I got to check my schedule. I did this. I did that. We're going to have Brent Lee on right after the break at the bottom of the hour. Then we'll go right to Cassia County Superintendent of Schools, Galen Smyer. You know what I think we'll do? I think what we'll do real quick, if Gina doesn't mind, we'll give a quick weather update. Gina, would you mind, please?
Okay, well, weather for today, it looks like mostly cloudy skies for most of the day. It's going to be clearing out in the overnight hours, high of 42. Tonight, looking at a low of 27. Tomorrow, for New Year's Day, mostly sunny skies, high of 41. Pretty much the same for Thursday and Friday. A very, very slight chance of snow, maybe some rain, and a high near 40.
All right, there she is, the nation's favorite weather girl, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you. And right now, we're going to scoot on down to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. We tried to get him a little earlier. He's been all tied up, and they got him untied. Here's Brent Lee.
Good morning, Zeb. Good to be with you, and welcome everybody to our January clearance sale.
Oh, my. Tell us all about it.
Well, it's a unique time of year, and you literally, on many items, can save up to 75% off, not 30 or 40 or 50, but up to 75%, because we have a handful of one-of-a-kind floor samples, closeouts, odds and ends, unique situations. Maybe we have a sofa love, we've sold away the chair, or we have a sofa chair, we've sold away the love seat, a combination of a number of things, and we need to just kind of rebalance the floor a little bit. And that's with furniture. We've got recliners, and we've got sofa love seats, we've got bar stools, we've got bunk beds, quilt racks, entry lockers, 4-drawer chests, a variety of beautiful accessories. Then if we go over to our mattress department, we've got our floor models, where Simmons is changing their covers, and they're going to change their names. And so we take our floor covers, our floor models, which are really brand new. They've just been had a few test rests on them, you might say, here in the store. And, gosh, in many cases you can get half of the sale price. So get a wonderful quality Simmons bed with that wonderful memory foam over the pocketed coil at a wonderful buy by buying a closeout. And then in our flooring department, we have tile, for example. We have porcelain tile, 13 by 13s, 18 by 18s, tile that runs normally $3 and $4 a square foot at 99 cents. We have carpet tiles, which are becoming very popular. And those, again, are literally 2/3 or more off. And we have pallets and remnants and so forth in that. And then we have our remnants of carpet and our special roll-bys, carpets and vinyls. Great selection. So come in and take advantage during our January clearance sale.
Absolutely. And no money down, no interest until June of 2014 on approved credit. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
Well, I'll tell you something. That is where the great buys are at this January clearance, where you can save up to 75% on these one-of-a-kind floor samples. Brent, you did it again. And may I take just a moment to say to you, Happy New Year. And we'll look forward to 2014 with you right here on the radio.
We'll look forward to it, Zeb, and Happy New Year to you and all of our listeners, our customers. And we live in a very blessed area, and it's a wonderful opportunity to express our gratitude.
Absolutely. Brent Lee, Lee's Furniture, Floors and More, 459 Overland and Burley. Happy New Year!
And Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, right now we're going to go to the phone lines, and we're going to have a little change in the schedule, as I said. Normally we have school days in Cassia County on Thursdays, and it's brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and also the Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. And today we're going to have the program, and we're blessed to have with us the Superintendent of Schools for Cassia County. And we say good morning to a dear old friend, known him for a long time, and that's Galen Smyer. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Great, Seb, and good morning to you, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Now, with that being said, what's the status in Cassia County for the schools? Everything looking really good for the next year?
Well, we're looking forward to a good year, and we're having a good year now, and so we hope that continues, and so we're excited about a lot of things.
All right, now
a couple of things I'd like to report to you, however. We're having the remaining community meetings on Wednesday, January 8th. Is a community meeting for the Burley community at the Little Theater at Burley High School from 6:30 till 8 p.m. where we're just taking input. The board will be there taking input from community members concerning school issues. It's not necessarily specific to buildings, but buildings have come up in the other meetings we've had, but it's curriculum and textbooks and other concerns that people have that they want to get in front of the board and make sure that the board's aware of their concerns. And then the DECLO community meeting will be on Thursday evening from 6:30 until 8 at DECLO High School.
Okay.
Prior to that, on Tuesday, Zeb, is what I want to also promote. The name Danny Morona is known to you and many of your listeners in the community as a longtime entertainer. And Danny Morona has taken of his time and of his substance and created a scholarship program for performing arts students.
Oh.
And certainly we have performing arts in our schools and music and dance and voice and all those things that brings these students together in a competitive event where they will win scholarships. And that is Tuesday evening, January 7th at Burley High School's King Fine Arts Center.
Okay.
And there are contestants, juniors and seniors in high school, from each of the 4 high schools in the county that will be participating that evening. It is a fantastic show. I've attended for many years, Zeb, and it's an evening that you just come away from knowing that we're in good hands going forward because of the youth that are there and their participation.
Now, what are some of the
talents that they exhibit?
What are some of the categories, Galen, as far as like, is it song, is it dance, is it playing instruments? Give us some of the variations.
It's all of the above, and you'll hear dramatic readings, you will hear comedy. It just depends, and while I do have a list of the participants for Tuesday evening, I don't know what they're going to be doing in terms of a performing art.
I see.
And so it's a bit of a come and see, but I know that a lot of the X Factor and other things that have been America's Got Talent kind of programs that have been real popular on television. We've got that right here in our community, and I really encourage people to come out and support these youth and see what they're doing. There's no charge to attend the event, and the students will be announced and awarded scholarships that evening, and then the winners will then go on and have a chance to compete for even larger scholarships in the spring at a finale held at College of Southern Idaho.
Okay, now let's give a reevaluation of the time, the place, and everything on Tuesday the 7th. Go ahead.
It's at 7 p.m. at Burley High School's King Fine Arts Center, and it's the Danny Morona Scholarship Competition. And again, we've got representatives from all 4 Cassia County high schools that will be competing that evening for scholarship awards. I think the top award that evening will be $1,500.
Oh, my.
And they give 3 awards, and then those 3 individuals will then compete at a later date for some greater amounts of money.
Galen, would you agree with me that, unfortunately, because of budget restraints and cutbacks and everything, the fine arts, if you will, they've kind of taken a back seat the last decade, haven't they?
They have, Zeb, and you're very astute in your analogy of that. Our school district, and I attribute this to our school board's value of performing arts, and also the support that we get from within our schools and the community. But we've maintained that. We haven't been able to do as much as we would have liked, as we've gone through a time where money's been extra tight. But in some parts of the country, and even in parts of the state, where money became tight, that was one of the things that they let go, were the performing arts, to try to make ends meet. And it's difficult to bring those things back once they're gone. And so we've definitely value that, and we'd like to do better. But nevertheless, in spite of the limitations, we've got students accomplishing great things.
You know, the thing I want to say is, and I'm certainly not trying to be derogatory towards any other activity, but I've been in athletics all my life, and there's always scholarships for football, basketball, wrestling, baseball, etc. But I really think it's nice that a person like Danny Morona steps up to the plate and creates this kind of an atmosphere for kids that really want to put their foot in the possible entertainment world.
Well, it's given these students a great boost, and he has created a foundation, and he solicits funds that goes to support these scholarships. And he's He started in the Magic Valley, and now it's also in the Pocatello area, and so he'd eventually like to see it go statewide if he can get the financial support to enable him to do so. But Twin Falls is home to him, and so Magic Valley has been an area on which he's initially focused, and this has been going for 5 or 6 years, and it's there have been students who are now former students who are former scholarship winners, one of which is on Broadway, and Danny talks about some of those that evening, some of the past performers and what they're doing now, and it's exciting. It's just a thrill to see the potential that's there and to know that they've got a chance to go on and do great things. Absolutely. Great big scholarship program for the fine arts at the King Fine Arts Center this next Tuesday, January 7th at 7 p.m. Galen, anything else? I've got about a minute left here that you want to highlight for Cassia County Schools. No, I just I wish everyone well in a new year, and at a subsequent opportunity, Zeb, I'd like to come on your program and talk about our supplemental levy that'll be coming up in March, and but we need sufficient time to be able to discuss that. So I'll get with you, and we'll schedule a little later date that I can come on and cover that in detail. But for the time being, I'd just like to wish you and your listeners a happy new year, and I'm excited for our current and remaining of the school year. Absolutely. Dear friend, Superintendent of Cassia County Schools, Galen Smeyer, happy new year, my friend. Thank you so much. Take care, Zeb. All right, thank you. School Days in Cassia County, brought to you by, in part, A Child's World at 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. And don't forget, they've got a winter clearance, stock up on all the winter coats and the dresses and the comfortable shoes from Cherokee for adults on their feet all day long. And it's a great place to get birthday presents and free gift wrapping. All of this and more at a family store. A Child's World, 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. And also, School Days in Cassia County brought to you by Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. My goodness, saving you hundreds of dollars and giving you outstanding medical care. If you need a colonoscopy from an experienced board-certified gastroenterologist, I said that again slow, gastroenterologist, there I've got it right, eye surgery, carpal tunnel surgery, arthroscopic surgery, everything right there at the Ambulatory Surgery Center on Highland Avenue in Burley, 677-8888. School Days in Cassia County. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Zeb, I don't know whether you heard on TV or not, Good Morning America, they announced two of the most admired people in the United States, Obama and Hillary. I think somebody scraped the bottom of the barrel, clear at the bottom of the ocean.
You know, Bob, when they come up with these lists of people that are most admired, you got to remember the very, very liberalized media with basically a scheme to make these people look better than what they actually are. And that's why they picked, I'm sure, Obama and Hillary going into the 2016 election. It didn't surprise me at all.
Isn't that something? I think what a way to end the old year and bring in the new.
Amen.
Those two admired people.
Yeah. And
Happy New Year to you, Zeb, and all of you, and have a good time.
God bless you, Bob. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you, too. Thank you so much. Hillary, the most admired? Why? Why? Really, when you take a look at Hillary Clinton, and be very, very open-minded here, tell me what really her major accomplishments have been. You know, I'll be open-minded here, but I've studied her history. I've studied as she was the First Lady in the White House. I've studied when she was Secretary of State. I've studied when she was a representative, of course, for the state of New York. I've studied everything about her, and honestly, what makes her stand out? You got to be really honest. There's so many other people that have achieved so much. Another lady that comes to mind is Condoleezza Rice. Look at that. Look at her achievements. Look at what she's done in education and for when she was Secretary of State. I mean, compared to Hillary, she's heads and shoulders above Hillary. And Hillary, the most admired? What for? Really? What for? Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, I'm going to get you on the phone here right now, or on the microphone. And are you one of these people that makes New Year's resolutions?
No.
Me neither.
I never have.
I can't handle them.
Well, I have in years past, and I never stick with the resolution. Now for me, it's like setting myself up to fail.
Yeah, I try to look at every day, look at the shortcomings or the betterment of every day, and then elongate the betterments and try to erase the bad.
Exactly, but
yeah.
No, I don't do resolutions. I really never have.
Well, there's so many people that are going to be going out, and tonight, of course, they're going to be with friends, and many of them will be going out to dinner, and many of them will be, socializing. But please, I reiterate, you got to be careful out there. There are people that sometimes lose control and should not be behind the wheel at any time, especially tonight.
And, just as a reminder, officers will be out in force tonight, especially looking for those who are driving intoxicated.
And rightfully so.
They need to, and so please don't drive drunk. Don't get behind the wheel. Call yourself a designated driver, get yourself a taxi, or if you can't do either, then stay at home and ring in the news.
Yeah, is that what you're going to do?
No, I'm going out.
You're after all that, she says, I'm going out.
Well, I've got a designated driver already set, and and I'm going to be really close to home, so yeah, I'm going to be going out.
What are you going to go to a private party? Are you going to go to a restaurant? Are you going to do all of the above? I mean, what's New Year's to you?
What we're going to be doing tonight is I'm going to cook dinner for my boys. And then we are going to go out to a party with live music. It is the 2013 Last Call Ball at Rupert Elks, and so that's where I'm going.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
And knowing the way you cook, your boys are going to be well treated ending 2013.
Yes, actually, we are going to have some chicken fried elk steak.
Ooh.
Yeah. With mashed potatoes and gravy and all the goodies.
And what's for dessert? Please tantalize me.
Well, my brother and Kennedy will get a pumpkin pie, and then James, he will probably get some peach ice cream.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Peach ice cream?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds so
pie
good.
Eater, so I do him something a little bit different.
Well, I want to wish, and I want to say this, because it's the end of a new year, or an old year, I should say, going into a new year, and I'm looking at the new year with some trepidation because of what's going to take place this next week.
Yeah.
And I got to say this, folks, that this program has grown in popularity and size much bigger than I ever anticipated, and I bear that, I really give tribute to those that have helped me, and number one, my lovely wife here at the home studio, and number two, Gina over at the main studio. I mean, without those two ladies in my life, no way could I have this program be like it is today. And so I want to salute both Deanne and Gina and say, God bless you both and Happy New Year.
Well, God bless you and Deanne both, and hopefully you have a wonderful new year. And I do assume that you're going to keep me apprised as to how everything goes when you go on your trip.
Well, it's not going to be pleasure, but I'll make sure that Deanne calls you and lets you know what's going on. And I guess I've got a question for you as we wrap up things for today, the last of the old year 2013. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that you've probably got old Lang Syne over there, don't you?
I do somewhere. I've been looking for it, but I can't find it.
Can I do a commercial, and maybe you could find something that might be a little bit nostalgic, like the end of the year?
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. Service is the key word. Now, we're wrapping up 2013, and they're all set to serve you again in 2014, all 7 locations. With the best of tires, all your traction tires, all your pin for studs tires to get you down the road through the snow and the ice and everything else. And, of course, they've got all the batteries. They've got all the batteries that you need. They've got the tire chains and the snow wheels, and the best in brake service. Had my car in there yesterday. They're fantastic. You better get in there and check it out today. Service reigns supreme for you and safe driving at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and, of course, Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. To all of you, Happy New Year, and I mean that. All our advertisers, all our sponsors, all our listeners, all those that have had maybe some tough times this year, I pray for better times for all of you and certainly hope you have a happy and blessed New Year. Gina, do you have anything to take us out of here with this morning?
Well, I got John Lennon, Imagine.
Oh, that's a good song. That's a good song for the end of the year, and I'll let you have it. I'm going to just step on out of here and say, everybody, I will be back when the doctors say I can be back. God bless Sharon Hardy Mills and Gina Jameson for handling my program. Everybody, Happy New Year.